Welcome to part 3 of this multi-part finale. In this episode we'll continue where we left off in part 2, talking about the vegetation of the upper slope and plateau. In 1815, various travelers such as Burckhardt noted that the uplands were being cultivated for wheat, barley, and sorghum, as well as olives, figs, and tobacco, much of which are still grown to this day. Although only 1/10 of the arable land was farmed during the mid-1800s, at this point most of the land is being used for agriculture, or pasture. Although the plant coverage of this area is sparse due to overgrazing, and a drop in the water table due to irrigation, a species called Artemisia herba alba is the dominant species within this region. Other plants like wild rue, a local species of sea holly, common Balota, and Loliolum sublatum, the last remaining member of that genus, as well as a salvia species. In the limestone plateau, oleanders predominated this area, alongside a plant simply referred to as a cane. Although there is substantial erosion and extensive grazing, common Balota and one salvia species commonly dominate this area, alongside many other types of shrub, and there is also remnants of Mount Tabor oak and wild pistachio as well. In other areas of this ecosystem, other species of pistachio and oak are also found, alongside wild almonds. Now onto the local vegetation of EL-HEMMEH, the site proper. This area is close to a natural spring. In 1988, it was reported that the following life forms grew within this region: oleander, tamarix, willow, acacia, and palm trees. Crane brakes were found in marshy spots along this area as well. This is still true today, although the region has shrunk since the water retrieval has intensified. Although rushes, reeds, tamarix, and fig species are still found within this region, other species were also found in this region as well, such as a tree species called Abraham's balm, a sedge species called galingale, and yet another species called the Severn cattail. A few remnant populations of a jujube relative, an acacia species, and date palm were also found in that area. There's also an open woodland area that primarily consists of a species of local juniper, with a few pistachio trees also being found in that region. Most of the plant specimens found in that region were damaged by animal grazing, with the exception of plants like oleander, which had toxic chemicals within them, or thorns that ward off potential aggressors. In this region, crops around the site are often grown. These include citrus, olive, fig, and apricot, as well as pomegranate, almond, eggplant, cauliflower, squash, broad beans, watermelon, and hot peppers. Feral onions and feral oats have also been found in this region as well, although irrigation is not used in this area, suggesting reliable rainfall. Now on to the ancient history of these regions. During the Neolithic era, many plant tissues were excavated. Using radiocarbon dating, they found all the specimens they had were around 11,500 years old. In 2006, Dr. Robertson argued that the early Holocene, where the Neolithic era took place, may have been the wettest phase of the past 25,000 years across the Levant, with vast monsoons. This seems to be the case given that during this time period there was an increase in the percentage of oak and pistachio pollen found in these regions, indicating a higher level of rainfall and water. Since pistachio trees need a minimum of 200 millimeters of spring rainfall to survive, and very, very mild winters, it is likely that this time period was associated with increased waterfall and an increase in temperature. Further evidence came from pollen cores obtained from lakes in Iran and Turkey. These likewise showed the movement of pistachios and oak woodlands into areas that were formerly grasslands that are inhospitable to tree growth of the type we're talking about. Based on archaeological data from the sites Ain, Ghazal, and Basta, the most common plant in the charcoal remnants was an oak species, further indicating the spread of oak during this time period. In the Basta region, juniper and pistachio were also found, and they dominated in that region, suggesting that area was colder than the other area. At the end of the pre-pottery Neolithic era, the most abundant forms of pollen were found from grasses, pine trees, hornbeam trees, and a small weed called a plantain, as well as members of the lily family. This suggests that there was an increase in water during this time period. It's estimated that there was about 200 millimeters of water in that region, about 150 more than was seen in that region in current year. In certain areas of this region in ancient times, there was evidence of jujube species and acacia species in the ancient Arabian desert and the ancient Araeoturian steppe. In another site, Tor al-Tirik, there was evidence of marsh plants and artemisia plants, as well as amaranth species and gramineae species based on the pollen record, with only trace amounts of pollen from pistachio or oak, indicating that at least one of these regions within this locale was once a wetland, although now it's a grassland. This change from moist wetland to dry grassland may have contributed to the loss of the pre-pottery culture that predominated that area before switching to the next culture. Stay tuned for part 4 of this multi-part series. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this video. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to me on BitChute for a greater variety of content, 4 videos a week. And thank you to all my subscribers on both platforms. I appreciate it.